Well, how's it going? Figured I better do one of these. So I was looking at our little system here, and there's one thing I forgot to do, and we're going to fix that up. And the other thing is looking at it. I imagine you guys will probably think the same, but I want to do an alteration. So, for example, there's one issue here. So we can click and buy a card, right? Cool. You know, them getting bigger and all that, okay, good. But I don't think we should be able to drag them. And then the other issue, and this issue is on the inventory and this one, is if I click and I drag this guy, how it resets the parents. Right? And I don't think we want that. I think that's ugly. The other thing is that if we go to the other pages, we need a way to set the cards here. I mean, we've got the pages, but I forgot to add in the set cards. And since we're doing that, I thought, well, maybe we don't even want them on the spine. We just want the cards on this page and this page over here. So I wanted to touch those up before we get into the building of the battle deck. So let's start with that. And I think the first thing we will do is, if I open up the store, we'll start with the store. Right, so we look at the store and we see, okay, we have a store mask, we have a card holder. If I take this card holder and I just duplicate it, what I could do very easily is move this guy over 1100, and that would be where page 2 would reside. No, not quite. Oh, I think I gotta go half that. That would make more sense. Page 2, and so page 3, another half of that. So that one would be 1100. And now we have, say, 3 card holders. Because we're moving these card holders, they'll just shift over. I think, and it's going to make a lot of sense here in a second. So with that said, if we wanted to set pages, so we're not using the spine, let's get rid of these for a second. So we have the card holder is this, right? So we might want to just shrink that and go there, right? And then we would have another one, so we'll say 150 over. Now if we, so he's negative 150, so he is 150. I think that's just going to be flat out the easier method, right? Like if we literally just call this page 1, get rid of these. Let's put this guy back, and he's there. Now we could duplicate that whole thing. Go page 2, and that would go, are we going this way? So yeah, he needs to be over on this side, right? So I didn't mean to do that. In reality, I don't think it's really going to matter where he is as long as he's far enough away. But with that said, it's nice to kind of stick with solid math, right? So there's page 2, and for good measure we'll do a page 3, right? So if he's 0, 650, this guy is 1350. now we have six actual pages. These are not pages, well, page. I don't know what the hell you'd call that. A pair of pages. So, what are we going to do? How are we going to modify that? Store pages, because we know we're moving 650. We just know that. So if we're going to go right, then see now we need another. Now we actually need a master. That's the thing that we're actually going to be moving. Hierarchy all this down, right? Because if we hit right, we're just going to take whatever local position he's at, of the card holder, but it's not going to be the card holder. This is actually going to be the master. Let's change his name and change the reference. Right, because now if we the idea, we're going to come over here and we're going to add the width. I mean, really, we can just type in 650. We know it's 650. Right, that's the difference between those, the distances. You can probably do width, I don't know, but if we have the pages, the width might not work. So then we're just going to interpolate, and same thing with this. We're going to go there, 0, and we're going to add 650. And just to make sure that works, let's grab card template. And let's stick one on this page, activate it. And stick one on, I don't know, say this page. Put two of them on that page. How about that? Alright, so those need to go 650. They do got to be on the other side. I don't know why that, it just seems to be such a confusing thing. I don't know why. Well, whatever. Right, so here we have, let's set this up. We have those cards, which they're going to show that slide because they're just the basics. We come over here. Okay, so we open the store. We see this page. We come over there and we see that page. We could almost deactivate those pages maybe, or I don't know, fade them in so it's not such a sliding. It's fine. But anyways, but that's the idea. So we can load these things up. And if we load a page up, it's going to have 9 cards. Then we need to go to this page. And then we go to this page, right? So that's kind of where, let's get rid of this stuff, right? And just for simplicity's sake, let's just name these real quick in order. Just a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You don't have to do this. This just might make it a little easier. So really, what we're going to do is, instead of creating the card under just the page, we're going to have an array. Right? Oh. Which one's the store? All right, so we open the store. Right, so we're going to destroy objects, and all that's the same. That part doesn't change. The only thing that changes is here. We're looping through. We create a template, and we do all this fun stuff. We add it. But we're creating it, the parent of the card holder. And that's the part that needs to change. Because that's number 1. We don't want every card going there. We only want 9 cards going there, right? So we're going to put just a, well, first we'll start with an array. So let's just build a little array, and we'll just call these pages. And they're game objects, and we know we have 6 of them. Right, and we're going to put them in order, just because it's going to make life a lot easier. Alright, so there we have that. Now that we have that, all we really got to do is when we open a store, we want to array get, and we're going to start with our pages. We're going to get index 0, and that's going to be our, we'll just call it our page. So when we create something, we're going to create under the parent a page. So it's going to go there. So all we need to do is we need to set int value. Actually, I don't know if we need to do that. Do we need to do that? Yeah, okay. It'll work. Let's just go page index, and it's going to be 0 because we're starting on page 1. So as we loop, we have type result start index endings. We don't get a integer for the amount of cards that are coming out of the hash table get next, like we would normally have with an array, which is fine because we can just do an integer, right? So all we'd need then is we'll make another integer called card index, right? So as we loop, we can come over here and we can just array get at card index. Well, we don't actually want to do that yet, but this will need to be here. So the first thing we need to do is int. We'll do an int compare. Okay, so is our card index, and we have a maximum of 9. So let's say if we're greater than 9, next page. If it's equal, we'll just say continue. And if we're less, it's also will continue. So what index, like how many cards have we actually put out? And stuff like that. So if we continue, we're just going to go here. And that can all be normal. But if we're going to go next page, we need to int add card index, add 1, then we get our page, and then we set int value, page card index, page index. Oh, okay, so that was a bit of a, yeah, so we have card index. Our current card, we set our card index back to 0. Put it below that because we want to add to our page index, go to our pages, get our page index from the pages, which will be the next page, and we set our int value of the card index back to 0, and then we come back down here. And so that means as it's going through, it's going to keep track, it's going to count. So it's going to do 9 cards under the one parent, and then once it hits over 9, it's going to be like, whoa, we've gone over 9, grab the next parent from that array, like page 2, put 9 down there. Once it hits 9 again, it's going to go, whoa, let's go over to page 3, essentially. So let's see how that works. I might have to duplicate up some cards so we can see the different pages fill. Right, so there, everything still looks totally the same. Now we're not in that in the middle there, right? So let's duplicate our cards. So let's just go 10 so we can see it go into the next index. Right, and I'm just going to copy this guy over. So now we have 10 cards. It should be too many for one page, so it should now flop over and do the next page. Right, so we go in the store and we see, no, we have to just adjust our this guy. So we just need to adjust this. So if we are equal, next page. I always mess those things up too. Float compares. Right, so now we go to store and nope, we still have an issue there. Let's take a quick little look, see. So card index, and I don't think we ever increased it, did we? Right, because every time we come in here, we need to int add, or else it's always going to be 0. So card index add 1 every time we pass through there. Count our cards. Now, okay, we open the store and there we go. It's going into the next parent. It'll just keep doing that, right? And you could put as many pages there as you want. You want 20 pages there. You could do it. And really, you could also create these at runtime too, right? Because really, they're only, if they're always exactly 650 away from each other, going in the positive direction. If you wanted 10 pages, the current page count times the 650 or whatever the number is, and it would put them all out, add them into an array. Yeah, anyways, so that's cool, that's working right on. We fix that. Now we don't really need to fix the moving of stuff here. I mean, we could, and I think I have a pretty easy way to do that for like something like this one. Mind you, since we're in here, we really don't need to drag, right? All these cards can probably be considered in play, and that would prevent that from even happening, right? Because if we come into here, we could set FSM bool. Now for the player's inventory, it's a little different because we need to drag them. So there needs to be a few changes there. And that's on the created card, right? So for the inventory portion, we can just flop that bool and that will solve that. So there's no need to drag. Now we don't have the the highlight, which we could change that on the card if we still want the highlight but not be able to drag, I guess. Oh, we can still drag. So we do need to adjust the cards anyways. Because if the card is in play, oh yeah, see, we never did put that logic in here, right? It's because if we are in play, the pointer enter has it, the in play, but this guy needs it too. So let's just paste that over here, change this to the begin drag, continue, and we'll just copy him again. And not that we need the drag, that shouldn't actually fire off because we didn't, but well, just in case. There we go. We just add that over here too. So we have an end drag. So if we're in play, we're going to check. And we'll protect those cards. Right, there we go. We can, well, I can't buy them. I'm too freaking broke now. But it is working. So, okay, so that's cool. But what about the player's inventory? So the player's inventory needs a few different changes, right? Because here I got a whole whack of cards here now, and we need to be able to drag them and put them over into our battle deck, which we haven't done anything with this guy. But we have a couple issues here. A, we could do that same thing with the spine and the parents to move them around. That's just a visual thing. It would look a lot better. Maybe I'll do that one off camera because it'll be literally the exact same logic. There's no point in letting you guys suffer through that. But we should also fix that sliding like that, right? Because we don't want to be able to adjust the order like this. So the other thing we need is, what if we have, 4 of these guys, or 8 of these guys. Right now, if I click and drag, technically I'm dragging all 8 over there. We don't want that. We only want one of them, right? So you'd still have other ones sitting here. This guy's over here, right? There'd be now 2 different cards. So we need to fix that. And I thought about that. I thought, well, okay, well, we could just look at the count, and then if the count is greater than 1, we just create a new card and add it to this thing as we pull one out. But when you drop it back in, then you go, okay, well, I'm going to add it back in. I thought, you know what, when we're creating this for the player, we should literally just duplicate the card based on the count we have and just place it right over top. And then it'll look way better. But we can't do that with this guy. I mean, if we turn him off, we can move cards around, but now we have this kind of a weird thing. So we need to do some work on that guy, right? So if I take the inventory and the battle deck's there, the card holder is here. So for example, if I take the card holder and I start dropping them down, we get a whole bunch of spots. And these guys are in a position. But if I get rid of the layout group so that it's not going to be moving things around on us, and I zero his position, he's up there. Okay, we can deal with that. Because all we have to do is drag him down to roughly where we'd want him, say about there. Right, and this one will probably have to come up a bit and over. it just kind of shrink it down. Now we could adjust anchor points too if we really wanted to, but not really much of a need. But we can, you know, let's adjust that so it's 0. I like them at 0. So really, like the next card, again, we could literally base this off of spacing. So this guy, if he sits roughly there, 82, he's at 0, we could pretty much say he's 75, right? Which, if he was 75, that means this guy would be 150. That's what it would look like. So, kind of like how we did before with the counting cards and we switched the pages. But this would be counting cards and adjusting the position, right? So this guy has gone negative 120. And then if we put this guy, third card there, he would be 240. Yeah, he would fit just fine. So we're looking at 120, negative 120 on the Y, and 75 on the X as we go through. That works pretty good. So really, all we got to do then is we open up the inventory. So we open up the inventory, we destroy our created cards. We're going to loop through the player's inventory, right? And here we are creating the cards. Like I said, now we could do an array thing like we did with the other one. But we need to keep track of what card we're on, right? Because we have an X and a Y. So let's set int. You know what? Let's make them floats just because it's going to be easier on the math. So we have an X value and we have a Y value. And they can both go to 0. Now we also have a int value because now we have a card index. How many cards? What card are we at? Yeah. So as we loop, we need to build a position, right? Because we need to how do we want to do that? We have an X and a Y. So we want to take our X, so we need to float multiply, or no, we can do float add. Be fine. No, we do want to float multiply. What am I thinking? Float multiply. So kind of like a grid. If you've ever built a grid, this is kind of how you somewhat do it. So if we take the card index, that doesn't give me, whoa, don't do that. It doesn't give me the convert, right? Because we need card index. I need a float for card index. Set float value. Yeah, because we really, I don't think we need an int at all. So we're not pulling from an array on this one. You can do it with a float anyways, but so the card index, we're going to go 0. So we're going to loop and we're going to take card index, multiply it by X. And we also need let's do another one. Well, let's call it Y index, and it could also be 0. So, and we can take that, the card, the Y index can be multiplied by the Y, and then we could set vector. We can use that, I guess, a vector 3, vector 2 won't really matter. Card's position, and we're going to set card index and Y index. So now we come along here and we say, hey, when we create them, you can still parent them under the card holder. Well, you should anyways. And let's set position right at the end of here of the created card, space self, and let's go with card's position. So now that we've done that, we need to float add. And we need to go to our card index and add 1. Because now in here, it'll be 1 times x. I think that just needs to be a flat value. What did I say? 75? 75 and Y index by 1 negative 120. Alright, so the other thing we need to do is, let's just run it up here. Let's do a float compare. Now, if card index is 3, let's go next row. If it's equal, fuck, I always mess that one up. We'll see it anyways. And we'll just have it continue. So if we continue, we just pop down there. But if we're going to go next row, we need to set float, or yeah, we need a set float and an add float. So card index is going to be 0, Y index, okay, no, Y index we add 1, card index gets set to 0, then it comes down. So we go 1, 2, 3, set that back to 0 and move down 1. 1, 2, 3, set it back to 0, move down 1. Now we'd have to add another one if we want to do the whole pages thing, right? Because it'd be a different integer altogether that we'd be keeping track. So after 9, we just move to the next parent object. All right, so that should move them there. So I guess we really don't need the X and the Y. It's really just those two. All right, let's give that a small test. Make sure that works. So we go to our battle deck and we have some crazy positions. So he is at 0s. He's at zeros, and zeros are there. So we have to add 1 to that thing because he should have been a 3rd spot, not on the 4th. And these guys are all going to be down here then. Or they're not anywhere. So he needs to be up here. I could have sworn that, oh, you know what? Yes. Okay. Yeah, because if he goes, take card template, drop him there. Okay, so from, whoa, don't move the whole thing. Let's take the card holder, move the card holder up. Like that. Say roughly there. So now at these guys at 0, 0, they'll be in the right spot. So let's go. So if we're equal, we continue. And I forgot to close that. That's okay, it won't actually do anything. So now we open it, and we have something that's at least in the right position. So we had the card index, we multiplied it. Y index is giving us some crazy values. Alright, so the Y index is, we don't want to multiply that constantly every time we go through. That's gonna just turn out to be a bad thing. Right, because we would need to multiply that. We could do that in a float operator. Not the float multiply. Float multiply is destructive. We don't want destructive. No siree. Right, because we can take the card index and we can multiply it by 75. But we can, we'll might as well use our x's. Aha. Now we can take our y index by negative 120, multiply, store as the y, get rid of these two. Alright, so now we can set just the x and the y. So the x and the y won't be destructive, right? For starters. And you keep multiplying something over and over again, you're going to get some crazy numbers. Alright, so we open the battle deck, and now we have an interesting pattern. Very interesting. Not the right pattern, but an interesting pattern. That's not supposed to be the card index, that's supposed to be the Y index. It gets really confusing when you got so many variables. Right, okay, so now we have this looking much better. Something just ain't quite right though. Alright, so let's go back to next row. Set that one to 2. Because 0, I guess, counts as a number, just like an array. Alright, so battle decks. Now we have that. The only issue is, where are these guys? Well, we don't want that. No siree. We don't want that at all. So let's put that up here. So if we are doing a reset, we don't do it. And if we beyond that, we can add. All right, there we go. So now we have our cards. The best part is we can actually move them around. Now, right now they're going crazy because it's different parenting. So that we need to fix. I think we should say that being as kind of complex as it is, it's kind of crazy. I really don't want to overwhelm you guys. So I think what I'll do, I'll kind of show you a bit of or tell you a bit of my plan. So the cards need more or less states. So that when we go to drag them or move them or interact with them, we can tell the cards what state they're in originally, like, and we're probably going to use numerous enums in this tutorial series. Because, like, say in that case, in the player's inventory, we would need a state for the card saying you are in player's inventory. Like, there's a player inventory state. You were in there. What logic do we run in a player's inventory? Because we can drag cards, sure, because we need to move over and dump into a battle deck and so forth. But we also need to capture our position, and if we're not put in a battle deck, we need to go back to that same position, right? So far bit different interactions compared to the store or during play. And in play, it'll have a whole pile of states, because you could have, you know, player starting turn, laying out cards, drawing cards, attacking. So it's going to have a pile of states all on its own as well for the actual combat. So, but I think I'll leave that one there. As I said, I just really wanted to fix a couple of those things, and I'll probably add an array to this one off screen so that this one just matches kind of the same thing we did at the store, where it just goes on those pages, right? More or less just mimicking that logic, but splicing it into this guy. So that off it goes. And then once we're done there, and then that one will, well, I said I'll do that one off screen. So the next one we'll focus on building that battle deck. We'll drop things in there, have it so you can drop in two of the same card, one of the same card, whatever the case is. We'll build that deck up, save the deck. Maybe we'll have a couple different decks, right? We can make a little thing where, okay, you have 3 decks, right? Okay, we're taking this deck, you know, you name it, build the deck, save it, and then build the other decks, or whatever the case is. Okay, select a deck, then go into play mode. Anyways, there's the chaos for the night.